yeah, I did change, and I'm really glad I changed.
This One's Wife. Trevor Engleson reveals this one's wife's secret daughter? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. The presence of a secret child is something that has existed for a long time. In some instances, it might be that a girl or young lady has fallen pregnant in circumstances whereby it was deemed socially unacceptable for her to have such a child. The child is given up for adoption and not spoken about, or in some instances, the child is kept but is passed off as the sibling of the birth mother, with the grandmother posing as mother instead, the family endeavouring to keep this arrangement secret. Indeed, in such circumstances, there may be many family members who had no idea of the arrangement. In other instances, it might be that somebody has a child before they enter into a relationship, and they do not tell that person that they have an existing child. Somehow, the information becomes exposed at a later juncture. In other instances, an individual has a child outside of their current relationship with somebody else. The man who has an affair and has a baby outside of his current marriage or relationship. He endeavours to keep that secret from his wife and has to ensure that the birth mother does not release information about the existence of the child, in effect causing him to lead a double life. In instances where the presence of the secret child comes to light, through whatever means that might be, it often results in seismic repercussions within families and relationships. This one's wife has long been plagued with allegations in relation to her own situation involving children. It is repeatedly stated that she did not give birth to Archie or Lilibet, and that in fact they do not exist. However, there is another school of thought that maintains that she actually had a child prior to meeting Harry, prior to marrying Trevor Engleson, a child that she had with somebody else that has been hushed up, that this child has been brought up away from her, and the circumstances of this child's existence have been kept secret. No actual evidence has been provided to confirm beyond doubt of these circumstances. However, the rumour simply does not go away. This might be, of course, as a consequence of the fact that people keep making mention of it, and therefore it just circulates around the internet, so it becomes to be an assumed fact by many people. Or could it actually be that there is credible evidence that supports this? Well, in relation to this dogged rumour that persists, a video has been created stating that Trevor Engleson has actually released information to confirm that this one's wife had a secret daughter whom she abandoned. This video has been viewed some 114,000 times. It tells us it's over. Trevor Engleson finally speaks and reveals that this one's wife abandoned 21 years ago a secret daughter. In a bombshell interview, this one's wife's ex-husband, Trevor Engleson, has come forward with a shocking revelation that this one's wife had a secret daughter that she abandoned over 21 years ago, and threatened her own father, Thomas Markle, to keep the details hidden. Engleson, who was married to this one's wife from 2011 to 2013, said he was completely blindsided when he discovered the truth about this one's wife's past. He said, "I had no idea. None of us did." This one's wife presented herself as this perfect, pristine woman, but the reality is she has a lot of darkness in her past that she's covered up very skillfully. According to Engleson, the story began over 2 decades ago, when this one's wife was a young woman living in Los Angeles. This one's wife had a relationship with an ex named Giuliano, and they ended up having a child together, a little girl. But this one's wife made the decision to give the baby up for adoption without telling anyone, including her own father, Thomas. Engleson claims that this one's wife was terrified the secret would come out, and she forced her father, Thomas Markle, to agree never to speak about it. Apparently, Thomas Markle loved the granddaughter more than anything, but this one's wife threatened him and said she would never speak to him again if he ever revealed the truth. He was heartbroken, but he had no choice to comply with her demands. The child, now aged 21 years old, was adopted by a couple in Northern California and has had no contact with the Markle family. This one's wife has lived with this guilt and secret her entire life, said Engleson. He explained that she's worked so hard to project this image of perfection, but it's all a facade. The reality is she abandoned her own flesh and blood. Engleson says he only discovered the truth about the secret daughter after his divorce from this one's wife. It came out in little bits and pieces. Things that this one's wife had said, stories from her past that didn't add up. He said, "I started asking questions and doing my own digging, and eventually the full story emerged. It was absolutely devastating. The revelations about this one's wife's past are likely to rock the royal family and cast a dark shadow over her carefully cultivated public image." Engleson says he decided to come forward because he believes the public deserves to know the truth about this one's wife. This one's wife has positioned herself as this beacon of virtue, as someone who champions women's rights and family values. But the reality is she has her own dark secrets that she's covered up for over 2 decades. Engleson says he hopes that by sharing this story, the woman this one's wife gave up for adoption will come forward. He says she deserves to know the truth about her biological family, and the public deserves to know what kind of person this one's wife really is, behind the carefully curated facade. Representatives for this one's wife and the royal family have not yet responded to a request for comment. Apparently, the story is still developing, but it is sure to send shockwaves through the highest levels of the British monarchy. Thus, this is the purported revelation from Trevor Engleson, shared on a video from a channel called Info Plug, and as I mentioned, has been watched some 114,000 times. What are the observations by way of response to this video? Well, people have written Trevor dodged a bullet, in my opinion. She's not living with any guilt. Narcissistic people have no guilt. Now her father has no reason to keep silent. She doesn't speak to him anymore. Ex-husbands, possible abandoned baby, abandoned father, abandoned sister, abandoned brother, possible fake pregnancies and possible invisible children, dogs rescued only to be also abandoned, abandoned extended families, abandoned friendships, etc. When you're on the world news, truth will rise. Her daughter should be so happy this one's wife gave her up for adoption. Hope her narcissistic traits weren't passed on to her daughter. Shame on her. She has no feelings for anyone, only this one's wife. Not surprised she has a daughter, but I don't believe Trevor Engleson gave an interview. This would have been picked up by the media. We all want this to be true. What a fabulous end to her bullshit. The daughter is better off with the adopted family. If this is true, remember the Queen's face when she married in white? What a farce. Mr. Markle needs to step up and take responsibility for the truth. This is absolutely wrong with all the lies that have been exposed. Actions speak louder than words. Apart from a few carefully cultivated PR photo opportunities, what has this one's wife actually done for any of these causes that she purports to support? She left the child with the alleged father of the child. The little girl is called Noelle and doesn't want anything to do with Meghalaya. She's about 23 now and very pretty. Thus, you can determine from the many comments that most people accept that this story is accurate. Only one individual querying that Trevor Engleson might actually speak out about it. Many people do, although there doesn't appear to be any actual credible evidence provided, believe that she has had a child previously. Now, with this video, it's clear that this is another example of lies being told. It might be the case that a child exists, although, as I say, I haven't seen any credible evidence to support that. But what tells us that this video is a fabrication is, first of all, that this story has not appeared anywhere else in the media, and more importantly, Trevor Engleson simply would not speak out in this way. He has maintained his silence about this one's wife for years, and he recognises that there is nothing to be gained by talking about her. Doubtless, there's plenty that he could tell the world about her behaviour, which would likely confirm much of what has been stated about her already, and that he would be able to expand upon the way that he was devalued by her and demonstrate much of her sense of entitlement, her lack of accountability, the absence of emotional empathy, and reaffirming the behaviours that support the fact that she is a narcissist. But Mr. Engleson has kept his silence because he recognises that that is what is best for him. He has moved on. And there would be no purpose in him speaking out now, and specifically in relation to the allegation of there being a child. The detail in the video is piss poor. It talks about him doing some digging around to find out that there was a child that existed. That's hardly a forensic exercise. And once again, whilst it might be the case that a child does exist, and as I repeat, there's no credible evidence that has been provided so far to support that, this video, claiming that the existence of the child has been confirmed by Trevor Engleson, is quite clearly a fabrication. This, once again, is the dangerous game that is played by these small channels that repeatedly churn out defamatory and incorrect information, which is viewed by tens of thousands of individuals who accept it as truth. This, once again, plays into the hands of this one's wife so she can point to such videos as being carriers of misinformation about her, all part of her crusade to stifle any form of criticism, whether it is incorrect or legitimate, about her. Whilst it is clear that the content of this video has been fabricated and has been simply done for the purposes of causing people to watch it, I once again bring it to your attention because it is incumbent on you to understand that you should examine the evidence and consider other sources, and furthermore, to highlight the danger, and I will continue to do so, of these types of videos that queer the pitch, if you will, for those that are undertaking genuine forensic investigations of this one's wife. There are certain YouTubers that spend considerable time and resource doing deep dives into the background and behaviours of this one's wife to make a determination of how she has behaved and linking various things together. They joined the dots. Their sterling work is going to be completely undermined and stifled by videos such as this, because this one's wife, as a narcissist with that inherent need for control, will repeatedly use examples such as this for her cause and then use it against those that legitimately criticize her. It is precisely the type of behavior that a narcissist would engage in. Of course, one consideration is this one's wife behind such websites herself? Is she pumping out misinformation to serve her own purposes? There's no clear evidence to support that, but it's a possibility that it is something that a narcissist might do. I once again highlight this behavior for the reasons of ensuring you apply critical thinking and to demonstrate the danger of providing, in effect, a free pass to a narcissist to assert control over people by shutting them down. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.